Hey Sagittarius Sun and Rising, welcome to your November 2024 Astro Update. It's Rena here. So November is another month where there's a lot happening. We're post-eclipse, but we could still be experiencing some, I was going to say fallout, or if you want to look at it in a positive way, some things coming to fruition, because the eclipse in October was a solar eclipse. So there may have been a lot of seeds planted for you in your 11th house of hopes and wishes. And maybe some of that will still be in play in November, or the first stages of new beginnings in that area. But in November, we have a new beginning on the first day of November. We have a new moon on November 1st at 9 degrees of Scorpio. So this is your 12th house. And because the sun, at the time of a new moon, the sun and moon are in conjunction, you have had this sun in this 12th house, starting from, the last 10 days of October, and that is a 12th house for Sadge, and that means the hibernation period, the month before we have our, because I'm a sun and Sag myself, before we have our solar returns. If your sun is in Sagittarius, your solar return will actually be the same degree as your sun sign, and it won't be necessarily on your birthday every single year. Some years it will be, some years it won't, because of whenever the sun goes into Sagittarius in that particular year. This year, the sun goes on the 21st, by the way. But so one thing I have to mention is that this is a general reading. So whether or not this is falling in your 12th house or maybe your 11th house, I can't say for sure. But in any case, I'm going to read it as if it's the 12th house, because it'll still be valid for you in the next report. It'll happen at some point that you'll have a new moon in the 12th house. And so anyway, a new moon in the 12th house can be a great time to think about what you want to manifest when you have your new moon in Sagittarius on December 1st. Because the 12th house is like the womb of creation. So even if it's coming from the 12th house, it's not so much intention setting, but just, kind of thinking about what you want. Also, the 12th house is the house of the spiritual side of life. So you might begin some kind of spiritual practice. Actually, this is a great time for meditation, especially when Mercury goes retrograde later in the month, in our sign, no less. On the 2nd, speaking of Mercury, on the 2nd, Mercury goes into Sagittarius. This is great for us because whether it's your sun sign or whether you have Mercury entering your first house of the self, this can create like kind of a cohesive influence where you can communicate who you are in a much better way, what you stand for. And because Sag is like shooting those arrows of truth, I feel like there's just a great alignment. And so often we do have to communicate for one reason or the other. So if we have that little extra assistance, it's always a great thing. So whether you're looking for work, whether you're trying to promote your business or whether you are, kind of looking for somebody to date and you're trying to convey what you are, what you stand for, this can be a great time for that. On the 3rd, so we have 1, 2, 3 here. On the 3rd, Mars goes into Leo. So this is going to be very important to pay attention to, because a month from now, actually on December 6th, Mars will go retrograde at 6 degrees of Leo. So for Sagittarius, Leo is the 9th house, which is a house of long distance travel and religious studies, or you could say spiritual studies. And it's also the house of higher learning, and so Mars here is going to be here for months on end. It'll also be in the 8th house. The 9th house can be connected to the law, and the 8th house can be other people's money. For Sag, that's Cancer. So there could be some kind of issues pertaining to these two areas. But I will also say that the 8th house can be metaphysics. So there could be, or even like, spiritual studies, like especially like metaphysical studies or occult, which includes astrology and the tarot. So it might be something where you're vacillating even between, do you want to go this path or that path? Do you want to be more mainstream, and that might be becoming a yoga teacher, 9th house, or 8th house, more esoteric? Maybe you love astrology. Maybe you love shamanic healing. I personally would say do both if you can. Maybe not at the same time, but you can do one after the other, because Sagittarius is a mutable sign and we are very flexible, and we can be very versatile because of that flexibility. So with Mars in the 9th house, there could be a conflict. If you work in academia, you may find that you're stepping on other people's toes, you're challenging their beliefs. I have Mars in my 9th house in my natal chart, and it could be the zealot. So you might be a zealot. Sages tend to be anyway. This is Sagittarius's house. So when you have Mars there, it can activate Sagittarius. It can make you want to be a globe trekker. So yeah. Look at your beliefs, and if you're being strident or argumentative about them for some reason. Because Mars sometimes takes it too far. But it can also be just that you're being very active about something that you care about. And that's one great thing about Sagittarians, is they actually give a damn about what they stand for. On the 11th, Venus goes into Capricorn. This is very good for Sagittarius, because this is the 2nd house of earned income, and Venus rules the 2nd house in astrology. So that could be cha-ching time. Now, I'm actually surprised that Venus is entering Capricorn so early, because it's usually closer to the sun than that. But, I'm not mad at that, because that could be a time when it's much easier to attract money for the next few weeks. On the 15th, there's a full moon at 24 degrees of Taurus. Saturn is also going direct at 12 degrees of Pisces. All right, let's unpack this. First of all, the full moon in Taurus is hitting the 6th house for Sagittarius. Now, Uranus, I should have looked this up before, because I'm guessing, but I think I'm right about that. I think I remember correctly. I'm sure Uranus is engaged in this full moon, and like it's forming a conjunction with it. So that could be like a sudden desire to break free from constraints. Okay, with this full moon can bring something to a head or endings. So I could see a Sagittarian like walk off their job. But obviously you want to be very um, conscious of what you're doing. You don't want to act in haste and repent in leisure. You want to be able to be happy with your decision. You don't want to do things when you're emotional. And of course, full moons can make us emotional, although this is in Taurus and the moon is exalted in Taurus. So I think that might be a stable moon, but it's a full moon at the end of the day. But yeah, another possibility is that you will get a promotion. You will have something, really outstanding happen where your efforts will be noticed. On the same day, Saturn turns direct at 12 degrees of Pisces. This is happening in the area of the 11th house, which I was referencing before. Oh, no, it can't be the 11th house, can it? No, I'm sorry, I meant the 4th house of home and family. And Saturn going direct here can mean that something that has felt like you couldn't really, like things were not moving forward with your plans, now they can move forward. And this can be good. Okay, like for instance, we had that lunar eclipse in September in this same house. Now this happened while Saturn was retrograde here. So, normally that might be a time when you felt like, okay, it's time to move, but then you felt like you couldn't for some reason. And it might have been because there were other things that had to be reviewed before you could move ahead with your plans. And so you might find, if you had some kind of difficulty during the past few months, that now things are going to kind of fall into place easier. On the 19th, we have Pluto going back into Aquarius for the next 2 decades. Wow, that is huge. For Sagittarius, this is falling in the 3rd house, which is ruled in astrology by Gemini, the opposite sign of Sagittarius, and its ruler is Mercury. So it has to do with all things communication. Also teaching and learning, which involve communication. So this is a chance for Sagittarians, for instance, who are writers, to really make great strides in their ambitions in this area, because Pluto can be about power. How do we become empowered? It could be the written word for some Sagittarians. It could be that you are finding your voice. I mean, it's hard for me to believe that there are many Sages that don't have their voice, but some might not. And whatever this means for you, it can be like a very big deal. The 3rd house is also your local area, so you may find that you are seeking to become more of a prominent participant in your local area, and that can involve the type of roles that you involve, that power is connected to it, or reforming your local area. On the 19th, okay, that was the 19th, I'm sorry. The 21st, the sun goes into Sagittarius. So after the 20th, 21st and beyond, you should start to feel lighter. You should start to feel more like yourself. And, isn't it interesting that the sun goes into Sagittarius at the same time that we start to feel like we're going into the holiday season? I actually just looked up when Thanksgiving is because the 21st is on a Thursday, and I assumed that that was when Thanksgiving is, and it's actually not. It's actually a week later, and it's so late this year that I thought that maybe, where I got that information was wrong, but it isn't. But, by the time the 21st rolls around, I guarantee you that there will be Christmas stuff going on, and it's going to feel very much like the holiday season, and you should feel very buoyant because the sun is in your sign or your rising sign. So that's something to look forward to. And on the 25th, we have that Mercury retrograde at 22 degrees of Sagittarius. So in the first house, it's like your life in general, something may be calling for you to, maybe it's a goal of yours that you're having to either rethink or reshape. Maybe it has to do with something that you have been, a way of life that you want to change. And so for the next few weeks, it's a great time to go within. It's a great time to meditate. People say, oh, you can't do anything during a Mercury retrograde. Yes, you can. One of them is rest, and one of them is meditate. And you can, see how you emerge from this retrograde in mid-December with a whole new level of clarity about where you want to go in the next 12 months. All right, Sag, that's what I have for you. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you'd like a private reading with me, I've been doing a lot of Sag charts in the last few months, which is way cool. And I have a special package, which is my deep dive. A lot of people get this because it's really a great deal compared to getting these readings individually, and they really go together nicely. An hour of natal chart analysis and an hour of transits that go until the end of 2025 for a special price. I have those readings separately. I also have love, career readings, other types of readings. You can find out more information at the link below. Thanks for listening. Bye.